Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video, and welcome then to the start of our F1 2004 career mode. We're finally back with the classic career mode. Of course, I figured, with a couple of weeks break before the Belgian Grand Prix, and then of course the summer break not too far away, it was the perfect time to jump back in with this series. You guys have been asking me constantly when it was going to be coming back, and of course, obviously, if you missed out on 2003, go back, check it out. It was an absolutely fantastic campaign in which we became a two-time Formula 1 World Champion. I joined Niki Lauda in a very exclusive club of World Champions with both McLaren and Ferrari now inside this alternate universe. So for 2004, I announced it at the end of last season, we were going to be making a big change, moving to Japan and to Panasonic Toyota Formula 1 team. Now, obviously, if you missed out on pre-season testing yesterday, again, go back, check it out, all the driver moves, all the performance updates, everything like that. It's going to be a very interesting season. Williams, McLaren, Ferrari, ourselves, BAR, all seem to be in the fight, all seem to be very competitive, so I think this is going to be one of the best seasons we've ever had inside this game as well. I'll be honest with you guys though, we're now into season 6 of kind of this 10-year career mode. We are starting to push the limits of what this game is kind of capable of, what we're able to mod with it, and everything like that. The reason why this series has been a little bit delayed was honestly I spent so much time basically trying to fix the mod and tweak a few changes for it. Originally, I dived in, and the Toyota was 8 seconds off of the pace. Now, that seemed slightly broken, so for some reason, it had ended up with Arrow's 1998 pace rather than Toyota's 2004 pace. I don't really know how that works, so I've had to go through and kind of tweak and change quite a few things. Geki no longer supports this mod, he no longer updates it or works on fixes or anything like that. There are a couple of people in his Discord that are still trying to kind of make tweaks and changes here and there, but I'll make sure I leave a link to the mod down in the description if you do want to give it a go, but just be very warned nowadays, it is a lot of work. You've got to have a pretty good understanding of how modding works inside the F1 games. Now, I'm always going to get this question as well. It's only available on PC. I'll leave a link down in the description as well to my install guide that I did about a year ago now. Because, yeah, it is good fun when you can get it working. But like I said, especially as you get into the later seasons, it takes more work to kind of get the game working where you need it as well. Of course, we have, as always, got a 16-race calendar ahead of us. We kickstart the year here in Albert Park, Australia. I tried to get Vietnam to work. It didn't. So we're going to start the year out in Albert Park. We're going to head then to Bahrain before we head over to Shanghai. Barcelona, Monaco will make it the first round of the European leg. The European Grand Prix in round 6 there before a quick stopover in Canada before we return to Europe for the French, Austrian, British, Hungarian, Belgian and Italian Grand Prix. And then our 3-race flyaway season right at the very end. Suzuka, of course, Circuit of the Americas, because we don't get Indy on this game, and then obviously the season finale out in Brazil. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys are as well. Make sure you hit that sub button if you want to be around, and of course, if you want early access to these videos as well, you can click the join button down below. But yeah, without further ado then, let's return here to Albert Park, ready for the Australian Grand Prix. Well, here we are then, ready for our first ever qualifying session with the Toyota Formula 1 team. I must admit, it was quite nice, heading back to obviously what used to be the old Arrows factory, meeting up with some old personnel and everything like that. Of course, our rookie campaign all the way back in 1998 with Arrows, and of course Toyota inside this series bought out that old team and hopefully are going to be doing great things with it. Obviously, a lot of corporate might over at Toyota that hopefully is going to be able to throw some development R&D and obviously a lot of money as well into the organisation then. But of course, anybody that was a fan of Formula 1 back in the early 2000s will know Toyota, arguably one of Formula 1's biggest failures ever. So much money was thrown at this project, and they never got a win in real life. I'm hoping to change that, though, in this alternate history. And you can currently see Fernando Alonso, definitely a very different alternative for him, racing for Williams once again this year, alongside Juan Pablo Montoya. These cars, though, very, very quick in a straight line, as you would expect in the V10 era, but definitely struggling a little bit with kind of the balance of the car through the corners. So I think that's going to be one of our main development focuses over the course of the campaign, is throwing it down in towards the final couple of corners. Is Fernando Alonso going to kickstart this year in absolutely perfect fashion for he and Williams? Through the final corner they go. We make a little bit of a mistake a little bit further behind. Alonso, though, on pole position to kickstart the year. Debut for Toyota. We go P7. Well, that is a big, big statement then from Fernando Alonso. Pole position here for the Australian Grand Prix ahead of Michael Schumacher. Juan Pablo Montoya will line up third, just ahead of Ralf Schumacher in the second Ferrari car. Looks like we're going to be fighting most likely with BAR here. Anthony Davidson, a great effort to go P5, just ahead of his teammate Zolt Baumgartner. Quicker than both McLarens, though, so I can't complain about that. And a second faster than Giancarlo Fisichella in the second Toyota car. Any of the major surprises down the order? I'm sure Renault will be a bit disappointed to be so far away. So will Jaguar as well there. But, I mean, Justin Wilson, great effort in his first weekend out for Minardi to split the Sauber cars there. But yeah, Marc Genet right at the back of the grid.
Months of rumour and speculation all come to an end today, as we return to Melbourne for the opening race of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to the Australian Grand Prix. The Melbourne circuit is certainly one that needs to be taken seriously. Its combination of slippery surfaces and difficult corners make it a tricky track when it comes to overtakes. Drivers find it hard to pass and will need to take full advantage of those DRS zones if they want to have any hope of breaking through. Here we are then, Formula One in 2020. The fight for the World Championship all starts here today. Mercedes on the hunt for a 7th consecutive title. They'll have Ferrari and Red Bull to contend with along the way. Williams struggled to find their feet last year. They'll be hoping for a stronger start this time around. And what I wonder of the Renault-powered cars. Will they be able to step forward? Maybe even onto the podium on a regular basis. Plenty to discuss then with Anthony Davidson. He's out of hibernation too, and alongside me in the commentary box once again.
It's good to be back, Crofty. Let's hope for some good racing today. We can't know at this point how competitive these teams are relative to each other, but hopefully nobody is able to run and hide. We want to see these drivers pushing to the limit all the way to the checkered flag.
Before we begin, let's take a quick...
Anthony Davidson then, still pulling double duty. He does the pre-race commentary with Crofty and then sprints down to the circuit, jumps in his BAR and is ready for the start of the GP then. He's lining up just in front of me. We will line up 7th place though, but always is the case in the season opener. This is just going to be a real test. See how much fuel the car burns through, how it handles its tyres, everything like that. We have got to be really, really careful today. It is a big learning experience, but it's also an opportunity to capitalise if other drivers struggle as well then. Lining up down in P7, waiting on the grid then for those 5 red lights. And it's going to be lights out. Oh, and away we go, trying to manage the wheel spin through the launch, but we might be a little bit vulnerable there as Coulthard immediately going to try and look down my inside in towards someone. We're going to try and hold it though around the outside of him there as everybody else, actually being very, very careful through the first corner, banging wheels ever so slightly with the Scotsman, but we will hang on to it then, as you can already see Michael Schumacher trying to apply as much pressure as he possibly can to Fernando Alonso just in front of him, a 3-time world champion of course in this alternate timeline, going up against a driver that is still hunting down his first, but maybe Alonso and Williams this year could be a formidable force. Let's try to get the power down out onto the straight. You definitely notice as well when you're in the dirty air just how much this car struggles to kind of grip up. But yeah, I reckon we've definitely got the pace to challenge the BARs today. I think, you know, we should hopefully build up some confidence and be quite quick towards the end of the afternoon. But like I said, it is going to be a lot about fuel management, everything like that. These V10s were always thirsty back in the day. There's a little bit of a mistake there, trying to get the power down out onto the back straight. But Alonso, I think his goal early on is going to be just try and pull away up at the front of the order. As I believe, yeah, Anthony Davidson applying quite a lot of pressure to Ralf Schumacher early on. It's going to be interesting, you know, if your BARs, if your Toyotas, a few of us are obviously able to challenge some of those big teams, as that's why you don't use first gear in this car. Huge wobble as we try and get the power down out of the final corner. Luckily, again, we're able to hold off DC. And I think for one of the first times ever in this career mode, I've actually got a car that is fairly competitive in a straight line. As Coulthard again tries to make it happen. Again, just get a little bit ragged off the first turn, but hopefully now we can just try and settle down into a rhythm. We're getting towards the end then of lap 3 here, really just trying to settle down into a rhythm and trying to remember how to drive these old V10 cars as well. You know, unlike a modern Formula 1 car, these things you have got to be a lot smoother with. You can't quite throw them around in the same way. Obviously, ABS, traction control, everything like that, though. A lot of gizmos on these machines. But especially with the traction control, you don't really want to lean on it much if you can avoid it here. It's actually a bit quicker to kind of try and drive around it. Have it there just to help you out when you need it, if you get a little bit out of shape. But yeah, at the moment, though, Zoc Baumgartner, well, really struggling to keep up with his teammate. Luckily, this was the early 2000s. Track limits weren't much of a thing either, so we can take a few liberties with that if we need to. You can see, yeah, Anthony Davidson really now challenging Ralf Schumacher a little way up the road. We have got a few upgrades ready to go on the car over the next few Grand Prix as well, so hopefully, you know, we are going to see the performance slowly move up the order there as, well, through this high-speed downforce section. This seems to be where we're really, really good against Zolt there, as already Coulthard and Raikkonen starting just to drop back a little bit. So Zolt Baumgartner, a little bit of a wobble through those final couple of corners. Can we get down the inside? Yes, we can. And we will make the move then up into P6. That's exactly what we need. I tell you what then, what has often been the story in these mods is that we've often had a very good car through the corners and then just struggled a little bit more with straight line speed against some of the AI. This Toyota, obviously last year's Ferrari, yeah, fantastic in a straight through the corners, everything like that. You know, it was just the best car throughout a lot of last season, although to be fair, Williams, Renault on occasion and McLaren as well were all fairly competitive against us. This Toyota, though, again, definitely slightly down on power. Like I said, we are working on some big engine upgrades ready for the European leg of the season, but I think Albert Park will hopefully be one of our weaker circuits over the course of the calendar. I don't want to start panicking too soon either, but we might have not fueled up the car enough. We're already down to just 1.7 laps of spare fuel. I started with, I believe, 2.7 laps worth, which would put me about a lap short by the end of the Grand Prix. Now, if we get a safety car, then that should be absolutely all right. And normally, you know, back in the early 2000s, you would here at Albert Park, mainly because a lot of cars would break down over the course of the race there. But you can see now Anthony Davidson making a move on Ralf Schumacher. Clearly, the AI can overtake each other. So I believe the damage model, again, in 2004 is brutal. So we have got to be a bit careful. Yeah, you can see that Ralf Schumacher really, really struggling early on in this race. So we've got to try and hunt him down. I'm only going to start worrying about fuel. We hadn't had a safety car by sort of lap 20. Well, I was really hoping then when Ralf Schumacher lost the spot to Anthony Davidson that he was going to start dropping back into my clutches, but it seems like it's kind of given him the kick up the bum that he's needed and is now really trying to stick with Anthony. We can still see Michael Schumacher running up in P2, but I think Fernando Alonso up at the front of the order here has absolutely bolted in that Williams, so going to be very, very interesting, of course. Yes, I'm well aware the Ferrari F2004 are one of the most dominant Formula 1 machines we've ever seen in real life, but would it really be that interesting if it was just Ferrari winning every single race this year? Probably not, especially now I've just left the team. I'd look like a right fool. But the good thing is as well, tyre wear looks to be fantastic in this car as well, so we can afford to go a little bit longer on this first stint if I want to. But I think, yeah, both Ferraris are just struggling a little bit with race pace today, as Schumacher now has kind of pushed Juan Pablo Montoya back into those next couple of cars. Importantly for me, we're still pulling away from Zolt Baumgartner a little bit further behind. And yeah, I mean, the McLarens, they have really struggled today. That's not the line through there, though. Oh, there we go. There we go. Ralf Schumacher then. Going to be the first one into the pit lane. Have we seen anybody else joining there? I don't believe we have. So that is a very early pit stop then by Ferrari, and maybe struggling with their tyre wear a lot more than we thought. He might well be two-stopping. Something I hadn't really factored in today. But the AI, yeah, might well two-stop this Grand Prix then. Or maybe it's just Bridgestone struggling a lot more than Michelin. Go. Are we going to see Michael Schumacher into the pit lane then? Yes, we do. So both Ferraris, both Germans into the pit lane. Both brothers, I guess we could say, into the pit lane then. So Bridgestone, they are really, really struggling in this opening race of the year. As Alonso now still extending that gap up at the front of the order. We are almost up into the podium places, though. Is Anthony Davidson, is he going to be able to challenge those Williams and potentially deny them a 1-2? I'm trying to work on an undercut on Ralph here, but again, if they're two-stopping, they might be in real trouble. Let's not forget, though, I've still got fuel on the back of my mind. Oh, there we go. That's good. That's really important.
Keep this up.
New fastest lap of the day, then, goes to show that this car does have the pace, the speed to match those Williams at the front of the order. Then Alonso and Montoya both have been running in clear air recently, but we are still just taking a little bit of time out of the pair of them. When we absolutely nail it. I mean, like I said, it is just about trying to learn how to drive these cars again. It does often take me a race or two. But yeah, Anthony Davidson, though, still just up in front of me. So Baumgartner, I mean, he hasn't dropped away drastically, but he's just been a little bit slower so far this afternoon. I believe McLaren have had to turn down their engines slightly to make sure they get to the end. You're always better off just picking up a few points rather than risking it and walking away with nothing. There we go. There we go. Anthony Davidson into the pit lane then. So we're really starting to see a few more cars creep in then. Has Alonso dived in? Yes, he has. So, well, we know full well the Michelin runners will be able to get to the end of the race on a one-stop. Juan Pablo Montoya is probably going to dive in the end of this lap. I'm going to try and take these tyres a couple of laps longer. Like I said, see if we get a safety car or something like that. Otherwise, what I might do is bolt on a set of the softer tyres to the end of the race. I believe they were called the option tyre back in the day. As there we go, Ralf Schumacher. I don't think I'm going to be undercutting him. On Montoya then, that Williams, it will make the one-stop work, but clearly Montoya has struggled with those tyres. Towards the end of the stint then, as for the first time, we're going to take the lead in our all-new Toyota machine. I assume we're going to see Zolt Baumgartner in as well, and David Coulthard. As Team want us in at the end of this lap. I think I'm going to extend to about the end of lap 18, and then we'll dive in. Fuel-wise, though, we've got next to none spare anymore, so yeah, the second half of this race might be about to become quite painful as we just try to manage the fuel usage. Michael Schumacher comes back out in P2. Ralf Schumacher now up into third. But like we said, will they have to pit again as Fisichella in? So, yeah, he's having a pretty torrid time so far. Well, we'll end at lap 17 then. The low fuel warning now has just started flashing up, so we have got to be careful. I'm going to dive into the pit lane then at the end of this lap, and hopefully that should bring the fuel back a little bit more in our favour. But I can't help but feel, yeah, the second half of this race is just going to be about managing that fuel. Probably losing a few spots towards the end. I mean, we've got to try and save a lot over what we've used so far in this GP. As I probably should have put it into lean mix mode there. Hopefully Toyota can give us a first decent pit stop of the year. Looks to be alright. 2.7 seconds. I can't complain about that. Sadly, you can't mod like refueling into this game or anything like that as well then. We're actually burning more fuel as we go down to the end of the pit lane.
No more scheduled pit stops.
Try and get back on the road then, and we'd almost got the overcut, I should say, on Anthony Davidson, as it looks like Juan Pablo Montoya has got back around him. We've got an 8-second gap though, or 7 seconds to Zolt Baumgartner behind. Will lean revs really save us much, or are we just going to have to really start lifting and coasting? This is not what we want, but I'd rather learn this now than if we were like right in the title fight towards the end of the year. Well, I don't reckon then this race is over just yet. Lean revs is saving us the fuel we need to, bringing us slowly back towards the green here. But we're not really losing anything to Anthony Davidson. Of course, we are on softer, fresher tyres.
Manage your tyres.
Hopefully these aren't going to cause us any problems towards the end, though. They should be absolutely fine. Tyres back in the day could have been pretty durable if you looked after them. So I think my goal now, surely has got to be just try and save a bit of fuel over these next few laps. Give ourselves a little bit to lean on towards the end. And we might still be able to attack Anthony Davidson. I'd love a podium. I still don't know what Ferrari are doing in this race. But if they have to pit again, this might genuinely be the battle for the final podium position. Well, I wish I'd known this at the start of the GP. I don't think the car's basically any slower on these revs. Look at that! Yeah, we've just gone 3/10 quicker than my personal best in this Grand Prix. Yes, you lose a little bit more down the straights, but the big thing the other way around is the traction. So much easier. You're not finding you're getting any wheel spin out of the car at the moment, so we are still applying pressure to Anthony Davidson towards the end of this race. And I mean, look at that. We've got a Toyota, a BAR, a Williams, and 2 Ferraris all battling with just a handful of laps to go in this Grand Prix. There is definitely still an opportunity for a podium here. I'm going to keep just saving up a little bit more fuel. But honestly, I think pretty soon, as long as we just keep using the modes effectively, we can actually just try and really nail this towards the end of the afternoon. You can see Montoya now applying pressure as one of the Saubers has gone. Who's our first retirement of the new year? Well, I believe then that is Olivier Panis, who is going to be our first retirement of the all-new season in his Sauber car. Disappointing end to what had been a fairly quiet day, to be honest, for him. But yeah, I'm sure he won't be happy. And there you can see the stricken Sauber car. Down to the final couple of corners. Must admit as well, I love the new HUD for 2004. It does look super, super cool inside the game. But what I'm going to start doing then is using like rich revs down the straights. Hopefully give us a bit of extra straight line speed to keep closing in on Anthony Davidson. But then leaning on the lean revs through the corners. It's going to involve a lot of changing modes toward the end of the afternoon, but I think it could be well worth it. As you can see, we've got just a little bit more straight line speed, but both Ralph and Michael are really struggling. Let's not forget, they might pit again before the end. Well, I think both those Ferraris then are going to try and limp their way to the checkered flag, but they are really, really struggling. And Juan Pablo Montoya senses blood in the water. You know what he's like, but always trying to capitalise on any opportunity that is presented to him. But we've got to try and find a way around Anthony Davidson sooner rather than later here. The BAR man really struggling towards the end. He looked so quick earlier on in this GP. He doesn't look slow now, but it just feels like we made a bit of a discovery with this Toyota car there. As I mean, he's just not quite able to get that thing positioned where he needs to around the lap. And you can see how much more of the track width we're using against Anthony Davidson here. Surely we're going to be close enough to try and have a go for a bit of a send down in towards the chicane there. Get the car slowed down inside track limits and going to try and get the run back on me. But we park the car on the exit. Up then into P5 we go late on in the day. But surely there's going to be a chance for more. Let's just try and save a little bit of fuel again and hope that we can rein in Juan Pablo Montoya and the Schumachers. Yellow's out. Is that the other Sauber car dropping out to the wayside towards the end? Yes, it is. So both Saubers then out of this Grand Prix there. Disappointing for them. And they will have to go back to the drawing board and work out what's gone wrong with their reliability here. But, well, 4 laps to go then. You can see just how much we're pushing. The gap to Juan Pablo Montoya, less than 2 seconds now. The Ferraris seem to have dug deep and are working together to try and pull away from the Williams man. But there is no guarantee of that by the end of this race. We are giving it everything in these final few laps to try and deliver for Toyota. Well, 2 more laps to go then, and now we can just start to see some lap traffic coming up towards the end of the afternoon. Will they just jump out the way for all of us? I mean, we've got 5 cars battling towards the end of this race. It's a shame Alonso has absolutely dominated this one. Otherwise, it could have been a fantastic battle for the win right towards the very end here. But 2 more laps to go then. We are still right on the cusp when it comes to the fuel. I don't know which car that is. I would assume it's the Minardi driving out the way there. No, he completely blocks Montoya in towards turn 1. It's actually Marc Genet. So yeah, it is obviously one of the Minardi cars there. But look at that Montoya getting really held up through the first couple of corners. And surely we can have a look down the inside there. A decisive moment. The Colombian will be apoplectic with rage with that one there. As Marc Genet just, I don't think, really kind of, well, just didn't move, did he? Let both Ferraris through, but clearly just didn't spot the Williams. And we will be able to capitalise on that then. And that now means we're less than 2 laps to go. We are chasing down my old car inside this series there. Ralf Schumacher, of course, replaced me over at Ferrari. They were hoping by putting the brothers in that things would be a lot more harmonious this year. But they're battling each other right towards the end of the afternoon. One more lap to go then, and we are now fighting with the Schumachers, as I'd always hoped we would be this year. You know, Toyota, always their goal in Formula 1 was to fight with those Ferraris. They were the dominant force of the early 2000s, but unless Ralph makes a mistake, it is going to be very difficult to try and find a way around him on this last lap. That's not going to stop me, though, as you can see just how confident we are in trying to get the car positioned here. Ferrari have done a very good job on what has ended up being quite a compromised strategy today to still make the one-stop happen here. But on this final lap, I mean, they've been struggling so much against a lot of the other runners. I mean, we're all over the show, going through the grass there as we try and keep the foot in it on this final lap of the GP there. But we've just got to give it everything as we make our way in towards the final few corners of this GP there. You can see again we might have to deal with one more bit of lap traffic towards the end. The last bit really helped me out. Will another bit do it potentially? Making a little bit of a mistake there. That's going to give Juan Pablo Montoya a little bit of a run towards me once again. But could Ralph still try and find a way around Michael before the end of this Grand Prix? In towards the final few corners though, Fernando Alonso out in front. Whilst all of this has been going on behind him all afternoon, he has dominated proceedings today and is going to give Williams a well-deserved victory to kickstart the new season. Fastest lap on the last lap as well of the Grand Prix. Is that Jordan going to hold up anybody? I don't think they are. On the run towards the flag, it is going to be both Schumachers on the podium. I believe for the first time since 1999, we will come through for 4th.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
So another fantastic victory for Red Bull today. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everyone at the team.
Well, there we are then. 16 seconds clear come the checkered flag. It made it look easy, did Fernando Alonso there. Finishing ahead of Michael Schumacher. Ralf Schumacher in P3, just a second ahead of ourselves. We really did come alive right towards the end of the GP there. Juan Pablo Montoya, he will be disappointed down in 5th in the end, just ahead of both BARs. Both McLaren Mercedes inside your top 10. And Giancarlo Fisichella, a very distant 10th place in the second Toyota car. I'm sure already the team will be questioning how he lost almost 50 seconds to myself in just a 29-lap GP this afternoon. Mark Webber then narrowly misses out. It was just the Saubers that failed to see the checkered flag of Olivier Panis and Jarno Trulli. Both Jordans and both Minardis got lapped when all is said and done as well there. But yeah, only 5 teams scoring. goes to show the dominance of big money in Formula 1 as well. Obviously, Drivers' Championship, exactly the same as our race results. Constructors-wise, though, Williams have a 2-point buffer ahead of Ferrari. BAR still ahead of Toyota there with McLaren in P5. I think our goal this year, sensibly, is going to be try and battle with BAR for that final top 3 position. Well, depends how good Giancarlo Fisichella is. Maybe he can get his act together in the next couple of GPs as well. But what a start to the year here from Albert Park. Nice to know the mod is working as it should be, and we got everything that we wanted to out of the GP. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll be back very soon ready in Bahrain.